All right, welcome everyone. It's so good to see all of you. We will move to the next slide. I just did that. Welcome. I'll call the meeting to order. And roll call.
Present.
Nelson Akari,
Present.
Jessica Behrman,
Present.
Great. So just remind everyone when you're speaking to turn on the microphone. You don't have to get too close to the microphone, but make sure it's turned on. We have a quorum and I know that people online couldn't hear that everyone was here, but we're good to go. So conflicts of interest. Does anyone have a conflict of interest to disclose? All right, moving on. Approval of minutes. You guys should have received the minutes from the last board meeting. I need a motion to approve.
second.
Anyone opposed? All right, it's approved. All right, President's report. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to honor Drew Cunningham. For those of you that don't know, he was a member of our CP soccer team who passed away earlier this week. He will be dearly missed. He was an inspiration to all of us, his teammates, as well as me. I got the opportunity to meet him at Adapt and Thrive last year. And he was just such a cool spirit about him. And so we will all miss him. So as we know, we have an amazing runway of events coming up in the US in the next few years. And one of those events is obviously the Men's World Cup, the biggest sporting event ever. And this presents us with an unbelievable opportunity to transform soccer in our country. And I want to thank all of you, the people in this room, the people on the Zoom, as well as many that aren't in this room, for collaborating and helping us define our strategy and how we are going to achieve our super ambitious goals and take advantage of this amazing opportunity. As you know, we've outlined our strategic pillars, which we'll go in depth today on. And as you will see, we are planning for the long term and acting in the short term. For example, obviously, our result at the Women's World Cup this summer was disappointing, and we must do more to maintain our leadership role in the women's game, as well as to return to the podium. That important work has started. It started well before the Women's World Cup ever kicked off, and under Matt's leadership. And welcome to your first board meeting, Matt. Great to have you. Under his leadership, we'll be presenting a new unified sporting strategy in the coming weeks. So while we are focused on developing winning teams across all of our 27 national teams, we're also going to share how we're going to improve access to our game, improve access to coaching education, grow the number of referees in the game, and our work in Safe Soccer continues. At the same time, under Dave's leadership, we will continue to drive our commercial growth forward in media, consumer products, partnerships as well. I know you all saw that we signed the Coca-Cola partnership right before the Women's World Cup kicked off, as well as business ventures. So transforming our sport and what we are trying to do is going to be challenging. But I'm excited about what we have ahead of us, and to grow the game will take time, resources, collaboration, and hard work by everyone in the soccer ecosystem. But there is no better time than now. So here we go. JT?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Cindy. Welcome, everyone. I want to reiterate what Cindy said about us being on the cusp of the most impactful years of soccer in our country's history. I joined US Soccer almost a year ago, and I can't speak more highly of the work and the collaboration across our entire soccer ecosystem and the energy around taking advantage of this moment. At US Soccer, we understand our responsibility to bring the soccer family together to take advantage of this transformational decade. We're honored to lead the critical work in front of us. So we'll start today by providing a voiceover of the strategic pillars and vision we announced on Wednesday. These 5 pillars will guide our work in the coming years. Our key pillars are grow the game, foster the best environments for play, developing winning teams, grow the soccer economy, the domestic soccer economy, to fuel reinvestment, and to create a world-class organization. You'll hear much more on each of these pillars throughout the day. We have ambitious goals, and we know that this will take time and resources, as Cindy mentioned. Importantly, you can expect increased transparency and updates on our process and our progress. We're encouraged by the continued feedback and energy. The notes that I've gotten from so many people across the soccer ecosystem since we've released our vision have been really sort of motivating and exciting, including some of the people who normally send notes that aren't quite as warm and friendly, who are really pumped about what we're trying to do and how we're trying to go about doing it. And for those who are interested, please go to our website, ussoccer.com/ourvision, to check it out. So if we go to the next slide, we will share a detailed plan over the next year. And to do so, that's going to require engaging with everyone across the soccer ecosystem to make sure that we have an aligned strategy together. But in the meantime, we're already taking concrete steps to deliver more value to our members and our stakeholders. We'll be sharing updates on the following accelerated initiatives that map out our 5 pillars. So first, our Safe Soccer Clearance Program. The safety of all participants continues to be a priority for all of us at US Soccer. Our new Safe Soccer Clearance Program will transform how we approach safety across the soccer landscape. We're committed to working with everyone to ensure that this is successful and has the greatest impact. As you all know by now, as a former referee, growing the number of referees is near and dear to my heart. And as I've heard from many of you and many across the soccer ecosystem, we really have an epidemic of shortage of referees. The number of games canceled every weekend because there aren't enough referees is really disheartening. And it's something that we all must work together to address. We're initiating new programs to grow the number of referees by reducing the barriers to education and registration, addressing referee abuse, improving the overall referee experience, promoting the value of referees in our soccer ecosystem to all audiences. Seeing the success of American referees during the Women's World Cup final only continues to motivate us. As we think about democratizing soccer knowledge, we have a strong belief that access to the best information will grow and develop everyone across the soccer ecosystem. We'll be creating an open source learning and community building platform to ensure that the best content from everyone across the soccer landscape is available to everyone across the soccer landscape. So whether you're a coach, whether you're a parent, whether you're a referee, whether you're a player, we want to make sure that you have access to the information, the resources, the videos to be successful. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Cindy to talk about some of our other initiatives.
Yes. So next up is the unified sporting strategy. Obviously, we want to see all of our national teams succeed. Moving forward, we want to create a more structured approach to the development of all of our national team players. This means prioritizing performance metrics and develop clear programming for individual players as well as team success, and looking at different ways that we can leverage technology to help us do this. So overall, these initiatives will create new connectivity across all of our programs, and Matt will go a little bit more in depth on this a little bit later. With the ecosystem partnerships, You know, beyond our national teams, soccer in the US will grow and improve due to the efforts of our entire ecosystem. So we're investing in our relationships with all of our stakeholders. We're doing proactive outreach, partnership building, information sharing, customer service. And I hope that you in this room and those of you on the Zoom call have seen the difference in US soccer and the different approach that we're taking. Because we know to solve our issues and to grow the game, we all need to work together. For the World Cup 2026 legacy, obviously the Men's World Cup is a huge opportunity, as we all know. And we're using this opportunity to help us transform soccer in the US. And to capitalize on this incredible opportunity, we will be launching a legacy platform in 2024 designed in partnership with our members and the entire soccer ecosystem. The platform will engage local stakeholders to drive grassroots participation, engage and cultivate a new generation of fans, and unlock new funding to ensure that we make the most of this unprecedented opportunity. So next slide. Back to you.
Thank you. So moving forward, our board meetings will be structured around the 5 strategic pillars we discussed. And as we'll get into a bit, we want to use this open session to be able to reflect the amazing work going on across the entire US soccer ecosystem, not just within our headquarters down the street here in Chicago. Today, we'll kick it off with creating a world-class organization. I'm going to pass it now to the person responsible for leading lots of these initiatives, our Chief People and Diversity Officer, Ann Sini, who also wins the award for Best Classes today.
I try to keep it interesting. Good morning, everyone. What also acknowledge today is the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, and wanted to say Happy New Year to those who celebrate, as well as beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month. But as we have done so many times in the past with we wanted to welcome all new staff who have joined US Soccer since our last meeting. And so as you'll see, we have added several staff, especially our leadership team, who has evolved, and we're very excited for them to start and bring to life our strategic vision as in tandem with the US Soccer membership and the broader soccer landscape. As we look forward to all of these folks, getting up to speed, some are days or just a few months in, and we are excited to see the impact that their leadership can make along with their staff. Internally, we are also creating employee resource groups, ERGs for short, to create supportive, inclusive spaces for all of our employees. And just as a quick note of what an ERG is, it's a voluntary group formed by employees for employees who share personally identifying characteristics. They create supportive spaces to foster inclusion and belonging aligned with our mission and values, and are meant to really be inclusive and intersectional. And for an example, some of those ERGs could be women, Latinx, Asian American, Black American, LGBTQ+, or faith. And ultimately, as we try to make US Soccer and continue to make US Soccer a great place to work for all of our employees, we looked at all best practices and why we want to bring in ERGs. And it became clear that this was our next step to bring those internally. We're excited to see what our employees create and excited to work with all of our employees and hear their voices through these in ERGs. So we're really excited about that one. Next, we have a celebrity in our midst. She will be taking autographs on a case-by-case basis. But we have Kay Bradley, our VP of Marketing, who was honored recently as 2023 SBJ Game Changer. So congrats to Kay. And we'll hear from her and from her in a little bit as well. And then lastly, we recently closed on the sale of Soccer House, which you'll see that beautiful picture of Soccer House there on the PowerPoint. We are grateful for the decades during which we called Soccer House home. And we're excited about our new space at 303 East Wacker. And we think it's been a great space for all of our staff to collaborate. But we love Soccer House and all the great memories and stories it provided to us. But that's it for me, JT. I'll throw it back to you.
Back over to Cindy.
All right, we're great passing, very possession oriented here. All right, next slide. All right, our members are doing incredible work to grow the game. And before I dive into these specifics, we would love for everyone in our membership to send us your highlights. Much like we did at the AGM, we would like to make that a part of every board meeting. So please send us in all the great things that you are doing. These are some highlights that were sent into us. I'll start at the bottom left, the blind soccer clinic. This was a pretty cool event that some of our staff got to be a part of. They were recipients of the ITG grant, and so they're doing great work there. I was able to be a part of the AYSO Play Soccer Day in Atlanta. I'm going to suggest, Michael, that next time you do something like this, try not to pick the hottest month of the year. But other than that, it was a fantastic event. A lot of new kids to the game who many of them had never played the game before. So it was a fantastic event that JT and I got to be a part of. Also in the same realm, Nike Grow the Game camps. This was Nike doing these camps, bringing new kids into the game. And then we had some national championships at the youth level. USYS held their national championship and US Club held their NPL finals. All were very successful. And then USASA had their National Amateur Cup. So congratulations to all of you and thank you for all that you are doing in our game. State Department partnership. While we were in New Zealand for the Women's World Cup, alongside the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, we announced a partnership with the State Department around public diplomacy strategy. We've been doing a lot of work with the State Department, so we formalized this. So we'll be doing a lot more work with public officials across the country to bring impact to communities through soccer. And we'll be increasing that more and more, especially as we head into the 2026 Men's World Cup. And sticking with the passing theme, I'm going to pass it to you, JT.
Thank you. We want to highlight our incredible referees who had just an awesome Women's World Cup. We couldn't be prouder of the United States representation at the World Cup final. U.S. soccer referees officiated the final in the game. Congratulations to Tori, Brooke, Catherine, and Armando.
I think this deserves a round of applause.
Yeah.
This is the first time ever. The first time ever we had U.S. referees in the World Cup final. Congratulations to them and all that they've done, but also congratulations to the youth and adult space to help in the pros for helping develop these referees to get to where they are today. So this was a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, yes. It was also the most representation we've ever had at referees at a World Cup. So in addition to having the crew in the final, we had the most referees we've ever had. And I think, the success at the Women's World Cup with the referees and the success at the Men's World Cup in Qatar with referees really shows, the growth we've had as a soccer nation. And it's really exciting. To be able to continue that success, we need to make sure that we're removing the barriers to becoming referees. We want to ensure that everyone has access to robust education and development, and we're actively working to remove referee abuse from the game. We piloted a digital referee course in an effort to grow the number of referees, and we will be looking to expand the program, so stay tuned for more updates. Go to the next slide, please. We talked a bit about referees, also a big emphasis on increasing the number of coaches and providing them with the best opportunities for growth and development for those already coaching. We believe that accessible education is one of the key ways to do that. And so we want to highlight the incredibly successful webinars that were piloted this summer during the Women's World Cup. We had 9 sessions. All of them were oversubscribed. And we had a really diverse and dynamic set of speakers. The feedback that there are a number of things that we've done since I've joined, where when I'm with folks across our soccer ecosystem, where they come up and stop me and say, "Hey, this is really good." This was one of those things. The number of folks who came up and stopped me and said, "This was so impactful. This was so amazing. How do we do more of this?" And it really speaks to the heart of our goal of democratizing access to soccer knowledge and making it as accessible as possible. You know, one of the things that is so exciting for us, you know, if you think about the growth of soccer knowledge across our ecosystem over the prior decades, where we were, you know, 20 years ago, to the talent that is across our country working in soccer, you know, day in and day out. Our goal is to you know, bring those folks together and to highlight that and make it to where the next generation has access to all of those smart minds, whether they work at US Soccer or not. And so this is a great example of that, and we're excited to do more here. And I believe Allison.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm going to provide an update on US Soccer's advocacy for safe sport reform. We continue to meet with members of Congress and their staff on a bipartisan basis to advocate for necessary reform to the safe sport process. We attended the USOPC Commission hearing that took place in Washington, D.C. last week on the state of the USOPC and the Olympic movement. Several witnesses from the sports community, including witnesses from other NGBs, voiced concerns about the safe sport process. We continue to lead in safeguarding, in large part thanks to our members who have shared their opinions and experiences with the process. This has allowed us to provide Congress with the information it needs to make informed decisions about reform. And so along these lines, we want to offer a huge thank you to our members and stakeholders who have helped us advocate for improvements here. We have a lot of work still to do. We want to continue conversations about reform because we believe that the more people talk about this, the more likely we are to actually create change here. We believe reform to the process will likely require new legislation. And so we are working with people on Capitol Hill to introduce a bill in the coming weeks. Passing this legislation will require a lot of cooperation and hard work. So there will be plenty of future opportunities for engagement. So please stay tuned for updates on this issue. Thank you, JT.
Thank you, Allison, and you know, really want to commend the team's work and leadership here, and thank everyone in this room and those on Zoom who've been such great partners in this. We have turned this into an issue on sort of the front burner in Capitol Hill, and that's been so much work. And really, thanks to the leadership of everyone here, we're making an impact. So thank you and congrats.
All right, Matt, over to you.
Thanks, Cindy. I'm really excited to be able to talk to you. But first of all, I'm excited about being in Hogwarts in the Grand Hall. No wand use on Muggles, please, this morning. But also really excited to talk to you about our development or developing winning teams pillar. But I guess before I do that, I think it's important that we look at what winning teams means, and it means different things to different age groups. So of course, our senior teams, absolutely fundamentally, it's about winning. It's about winning games. It's about winning tournaments. And it's about winning over the public in terms of our performances. And it's about inspiring the next generation of young players and young referees. But actually, for our younger teams, winning can mean different things. So for example, when we're on youth camps with our men's or women's team, or men's or boys or girls teams, the first thing that we're looking for is to develop a clear identity on the pitch. The second thing we're looking for is to develop a really strong culture. And the third thing we're looking for is to win. But winning shouldn't come at the expense of number one and number two. So, it's really, really important. Of course, we want a winning mentality for all of our teams, but sometimes winning can mean different things to different age groups. But what I guess I wanted to touch on is what I think selfishly, the importance of sporting, not just in the develop winning teams pillar, but also across all of those 5 pillars that I'm going to try and sort of talk you through and give you a brief example. So for example, within sporting, before we even start to talk about developing winning teams, we need a world-class organization, and that world-class organizations mean having world-class staff. So it's key that we develop, or first of all, we identify, we recruit, we develop, and we retain our best staff across all of our sporting network. If we can get that right, it gives us a best opportunity to foster the best playing environments. So making sure that we've got the relevant number of camps, events, etc., with best in best against the best teams, the best nations, to allow our young players and our senior players and our extended national team players to get the best competition and the best learning environments possible. Once you have those two things in place, then you have an opportunity to develop winning teams. Once you then develop winning teams and you start to see success on the pitch, and hopefully that'll come in the near future in the Olympics, and then obviously in the World Cups of 26 and 27, you'll then have the opportunity, I think, massively to grow the game, because it will inspire the next generation of children who want to play, will inspire the next generation of referees and coaches within the game. And then finally, once you've got that growth in the game and we've got those successful winning teams, you have the opportunity to bring in additional commercial revenue. So I think all of those go hand in glove for sporting. And it's really exciting that when I explain to our sporting staff and they can see the connection to each of those 5 pillars, it's really exciting. And obviously within that, we also need to have a huge amount of collaboration with the leagues and all of our external partners across the domestic game to make sure that there's a real strong relationship and connection about the player development process, which is going to be key and fundamental going forward. Okay, next slide, please. And I guess it's really important that we started with a session yesterday with our sporting leadership team. So, you know, ENT representatives, senior men's team representatives, and all of our leaders across the sporting space. And we talked specifically about the development of all of our teams and to create a unified vision for all of our 27 teams. And our ambition and our vision is to make sure that every one of those 27 teams feels connected, inspired, and I guess emotionally, I'll use the word connected again, to a single program they can all buy into. So, you know, every one of those teams feeling really, really inspired and sharing of good practices. So, you know, that's our key ambition going forward. Next slide, please. We've also began a number of in-flight initiatives. So I've only officially been in the role in the States now for 1 month, but we're already making progress in these areas. So when I look at the women's national team, clearly we were disappointed by the performance and the results and the performance of the team at the World Cup. And we've already began the process of a detailed SWOT analysis to identify some opportunities for some key learnings to make sure that we can feed that into the next head coach process, whether that's on the pitch requirements and qualities within the coach or off the pitch leadership and human skills. The second part that we're looking for is, and we've already undertaken this with Greg, with the men's senior team, is to make sure that working towards the World Cup of 2026, we have a clearly aligned strategic plan and vision for the men's senior team. And, you know, I spent a month with Greg. I locked him in a room, and you know, we had lots of long conversations around the vision of the team, the strategy, the tactics that we need to implement, and some of the key projects that we need to do across the next 3 years to make us as prepared for 2026 as we possibly can. And we had our first opportunity in our September camp to start to share that vision and those projects with the new staff and the new player group as the new dawn begins. And then finally, the extended national team program. So we're working really, really hard to identify what we need to do at the various ages and stages of the program to make sure that when those players do get the opportunity to wear the senior jersey, that they feel like as if everything they've gone through has prepared them to be fully ready and have the toolkit to be successful. With our extended national teams programs, we're really looking to grow the number of events and the number of camps to increase that level of competition. And hopefully in December, I'll be sharing with you the research that we've done on where we currently are compared to other top nations currently, and hopefully sharing with you where we need to take the program going forward. And like I mentioned, we've also done that across we're doing that currently with Jim and Stuart, with our extended national teams. Their expertise is fantastic. The volume of knowledge that they've got is going to really, really help us take the program across the variety of disciplines that we've got within ENT forward, and also develop the staff structure. And then finally, just regarding the overall staff structure, I've already spoken about the development of our staff talent. It's really, really vitally important that we don't just identify talent, but we develop and retain that. And we're putting a talent development program in to identify those top high potential performers within the organization and within sporting, and to make sure that they've got a clear pathway for them to develop and also progress within the organization. Next slide, please. And then finally, huge volume of events, so many events that I probably don't need to be in the office in Chicago once in the next 365 days. But I will be, just so you're aware. But yeah, we've got some key events. We've got Julie and Megan's final send-off game, which is key. You know, those guys have made a huge impact and been significantly influential across not just the US landscape for women's soccer, but also the world. And we want to make sure that those guys get the appropriate send-off. Our under 15s were successful at CONCACAF recently on the men's side. And then we've got the Pan Am Games. You know, we've got so many events that are coming up in the coming months that that you can look at, in addition to obviously the CONCACAF for the men's program coming up in November. And then the final slide for ENT. I mean, obviously, again, you know, so many events to talk about. Myself, the team, and Greg had the opportunity to sit down with the power team who go to the World Cup I think in a couple of weeks' time out to Australia. I mean, what an incredible bunch of human beings and athletes. It was great to meet them. It was great to see the connection again. And we talk about those 27 connected teams. And I felt inspired to be able to make sure that we do more of that work. And I know it gave our men's national team a huge boost going into that second game. So, you know, a huge thank you to everybody for making that happen. And I think that's everything. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Over to you, Dave and Kay. Game changer.
Thanks, Cindy. Thanks, Matt. And congrats, Matt. I mean, the impact that you've already had in such a short period of time is significant and very valuable. So thank you. Love talking about growing the pie as we think about growing the soccer economy. And I think, as this group knows, the last 24 to 36 months, there's been a lot of work, a lot of foundational work that's been laid to put ourselves in the best position to do just that. It's been fun to see the organization evolve. We'll use that word a lot, from an organization that you know, wasn't as focused on the commercial side internally, and now leaning in to this side of the business, not only from a fan engagement standpoint, but also how do we drive exponential growth from a revenue perspective. And I think it's the collective efforts of the organization that's really put us in a good spot. You know, as we sit here today, you know, barring any unforeseen material surprises, we're on pace to not only hit the FY24 budget, but there's a good chance that we'll exceed the FY24 budget, which is a huge testament to the collective efforts of the organization and the broader ecosystem. You know, there's a number of areas that are driving some of the early success from a partnerships perspective. The ability to retain and grow existing partners is huge to any organization as you build a really impressive foundation. But also, how do you build on top of that? So adding industry-leading brands like Coca-Cola, Ticketmaster, Truly, and a handful of other really prominent announcements we'll be making in the not too distant future has put us in a really good spot from a partnerships side of the business. Media, another huge area of focus for us as we think about distribution and how we tell our story. So the ability to align with partners like Warner Brothers Discovery, Telemundo, Sport 5 internationally, and then Football de Premier from a Spanish language radio perspective has put us in a really good position. But beyond that, identifying other areas of revenue growth through a relationship with Veritone and what we anticipate to be a growth area from a licensed content standpoint. Consumer products is a huge area of focus for us. Not only does that have a significant fan engagement value, but obviously we see it as a revenue opportunity and material growth ahead there. Increased licensees, diversified product line that stretches well beyond our senior national teams are just some of the key wins that are driving that business. And then lastly, a recent new vertical to the commercial arm, business ventures. It's really focused on looking around the corner, identifying future opportunities of growth. And Sport Radar is a great example of that, a new data partner that's investing in the growth of the game. So foundation is there. We've come a long way. We've got a long way to go. It's hard to believe that we're already starting to look ahead to FY25. And I think the momentum we have has put us in a really good position for material growth as we look ahead to FY25 and beyond.
So before we go to the next slide, if we start on that first bullet, I think that deserves a round of applause in terms of the progress we made here. So that I've been a part of a number of organizations, and particularly organizations that are launching new things. Never have I seen a team come together around such a big, ambitious sort of challenge and exceed it in a way that this group has on the commercial side. So congratulations.
Thanks, JT. If you go to the next slide. So again, that E word, evolution. One of the very important business lines for the organization, obviously centers around our events, showcase opportunities for the sport, a significant revenue opportunity, fan engagement opportunity. But as we've discussed throughout with the commercial committee and others, also one of the more volatile areas of the business. There's so many variables that contribute to running a successful events business, many of which are outside of our control. And so over the last 6 months, we've spent a lot of time doing an audit internally, but then also taking a really hard look at the international landscape, the domestic landscape, so that we're as informed as possible and proactive in how we evolve this side of the business. At the end of the day, it's about providing predictability or at least limiting the volatility. And I think you'll see us do that with a keen emphasis on a number of core areas, scheduling being one. And how do we get ahead from a scheduling standpoint? And then closely tied to that are identifying markets. And I know there's a lot of conversation and a lot of opinion in terms of where we play our matches. It's complicated, but we are committed to continuing to get out ahead of it to provide a level of predictability on the scheduling front. We also know that these showcase events, the 90 minutes, are incredible and the results drive massive fan engagement, but there's so much more. So how do we lean in as an organization to extend the impact far beyond the 90 minutes within the local market, within the region, to leave a lasting impact? So you'll see a concerted effort internally to do just that. And a lot of folks in this room and within the ecosystem will play a really important part in doing so. And then fan engagement. I'm going to, in a second, kick it over to Kay, who's done a marvelous job leading our marketing efforts. But we know there's more that can be done as we think about how we drive deeper levels, more consistent engagement with our fans, current and prospective. And then also, how do we dedicate more resources from a sales standpoint? Getting the schedule right is one thing, but then how do we lean in as an organization and ecosystem to get behind these matches? At the end of the day, our goal is really simple. We want to sell out every stadium and every venue that we play in. And it's going to take a concerted effort to do just that, but one we're focused on doing. So with that, speaking of fan engagement, I'll kick it to Kay Bradley.
Thanks, Dave. So when we embarked on the Women's World Cup campaign over a year ago, our focus was very much in line with what Dave was expressing in terms of how do we grow the fan base, and then also how do we ensure that we're driving deeper levels of engagement with our existing fans. So bringing them down the funnel and driving more opportunities for them to participate and fall in love with the sport. We had a keen focus on Gen Z and multicultural fans, and leveraged key insights about their behavior and how we could connect with them, where we should connect with them to ensure that we were reaching those objectives. So hopefully many of you saw a lot of these efforts out in the wild over the past 6 months or so, but wanted to showcase just a few of the initiatives that we delivered and talk a little bit about how we brought them to life. So the first one is the roster reveal.
This was our most successful roster reveal in US soccer history. We were keenly focused on how do we find that intersection between sport and culture to grow that fan base. We know we needed to connect with people who might not be paying as close attention to the sport. So one of the ways that we did this is we enlisted the help of 23 celebrities to introduce the roster on our behalf. And thanks to a lot of those Swifties out there, they showed up big for us. We were able to create a huge wave of excitement and engagement around this moment that really helped us kick off the energy throughout the rest of the tournament. Our licensing group also leaned into this insight around sport and culture and developed a Women's World Cup capsule collection in collaboration with several designers, many of whom were women-owned companies, and again, helped us reach beyond our core avid fans and leveraged media like Pop Sugar and Hypebae to really connect with a new audience. In the lead up to the World Cup, we also worked with the landscape to help us extend our reach and extend our impact in local communities. In particularly where we worked very closely with the NWSL on how we could work with them to execute watch parties in all of their communities during in the club markets during the World Cup. Really excited, and a huge shout out to the NWSL. We had 100% participation from NWSL clubs, varying degrees and levels, but at the end of the day, we were able to garner significant excitement in those markets. Also worked with our partner Truly on a bar network. So we were encouraging bars throughout the country to also host watch parties. And collectively, we amplified over 3,000 events nationwide. We can go to the next slide. So Dave mentioned around how we are looking to continue to elevate the match experience. The send-off match was an incredible showcase of just that. We had several partners involved in how can we create the best fan environment around this match. We had an incredible sold-out stadium, elevated hospitality. Our current partners were engaged. We were able to provide a really amazing experience for prospective partners. And an amazing way to kick off the World Cup and send the team out in a really incredible way. The comms group and our media team also executed a media day where we had over 350 media outlets present, which again, unprecedented, huge energy that helped us extend our reach by using the media outlets to tell our story. And then we had a consistent drumbeat of storytelling through content and through social in the lead up to and throughout the tournament. Several series of which broke internal records for us and helped us engage the fan base nationwide throughout the moment in time. So cumulatively, we were able to create a groundswell of excitement and continue to reach beyond our core fans, which creates a really exciting foundation for us for which to build for the future. And back to you, Dave.
Thanks, Kay. Last one. Sorry about that. I'm getting so excited. I was mentioning, in prepping for this slide, we often talk about being part of the conversation. And not only is the professional game part of the conversation in this country, in many cases, it's leading the conversation, which is a testament to everyone involved in the professional game. NWSL breakthrough year. Credit to Jessica and the leadership team at the NWSL, the clubs and players and fans, setting attendance records. In fact, I think they just eclipsed 1 million fans for 2023, which is incredible. Expansion record, franchise values, a lot of really positive momentum from a women's professionals standpoint. November 11th is right around the corner, which is their championship game. So hopefully we see a lot of folks out in San Diego celebrating what will be an incredible match. And credit to and congratulations to the Courage for winning the recent championship in their hometown in Cary. MLS is again having another banner year. Everything from Leagues Cup, which is the new tournament that took place this summer that broke through incredible on-field and off-field engagement. The announcement and launch of Apple and that incredible partnership, and yet another example of MLS leading the way and really setting the standard as we think about engaging with current prospective fans. And by the way, there's a handful of marquee players that have joined the league, and one in particular, Messi, that has taken things to a completely different level on and off the field. And I think all of us are seeing the incredible benefit that has had on our sport and will continue to have for many years to come. MLS Cup playoffs are right around the corner, and if the early parts of the season are any indication, I think we're in for a really exciting playoff run and MLS Cup final. So congrats to Dawn and Gary and the balance of the executive team at MLS for continuing to push the envelope and growing the game from a men's professional standpoint. And then USL and NISA, oftentimes the rubber meets the road in these local communities, and what they do day in and day out, the relevancy in the local markets has a profound impact on not only fan engagement, day in and day out fan engagement, but also provides more playing opportunities for a lot of aspiring players, which is really important as we think about player development. And I would be remiss as a guy who spent a number of years in the state of Indiana if I didn't call out Indy 11 for winning the recent W League championship. So congrats to the Indy 11. Next slide. And in a couple short weeks, US Open Cup will conclude with the championship on September 27th in Miami. Houston travels to Inter Miami, and it's shaping up to just be an unbelievable showcase for the sport, and specifically for US Open Cup. It's been a fun 2023 with record attendance and viewership, distribution. So hopefully folks in this room and throughout the soccer ecosystem will be able to make their way to Miami, or at the very least tune in to watch what should be an incredible matchup. Back to you, Cindy.
Thanks, Dave, and great work. All right. Next meeting will be virtual, December 6th, 7th. And then a reminder to everyone, the AGM is in Dallas on February 8th and 9th. So obviously that will be in person for all of us, as well as the National Council meeting. I just want to reiterate, thank you to everyone. Putting this strategic plan together has taken many months, and all of you have given input and really helped us form our strategy. So just want to say thank you for all your time and hard work on that, as well as all the other things that you're doing to impact our game in a positive way. So with that, we will close the open session. Thank you, and we'll take about a 10-minute break.